My name is Melissa Jameson. I grew up in Albuquerque and Tempe, Arizona, and I work as a freelance interpreter and translator. I have my own company called Precision Spanish-English Interpreting, which is based in Albuquerque. Well, obviously the main part of my job is providing language services. As the title of my company suggests, I work in Spanish and English. And so for interpreting, that's spoken events. So for whether it's for workers' comp hearings or for depositions or for conferences, community-based trainings, I provide English, Spanish, Spanish, English interpreting. So whatever's said in one of those languages, I spit it out in the other language. And then I also do translation, which is written. And there are a lot of different areas that people work in translation. I, right now, am working primarily in the nonprofit sector, providing translations. For one organization in particular, I do a lot of my work, and it's translating emails English into Spanish and other kinds of newsletters and other kinds of communications with their members all across the country. So I started studying Spanish in 7th grade and kind of studied it all through high school and college. I lived in Mexico for several years after having studied abroad in Mexico and Colombia and traveling quite a bit in Central America. And I just really, really loved developing and honing my language skills. And I had informal opportunities to assist with interpreting. And I loved being in that position of being able to help people who don't speak the same language to communicate. And so I knew it was something that I wanted to do, but I still didn't really understand where I might be able to do that. So after college, I had the opportunity to work in a study abroad program for a U.S. university, but that's based in Mexico. And as part of that job, I did some interpreting for some of the presentations that were done by local resource people for the students on particular topics. And I really loved interpreting in that educational setting. And then when I returned to my hometown of Albuquerque, I wasn't really sure where I would be able to continue working as an interpreter. And I was fortunate to have my uncle who worked in the legal profession, and so he suggested some local interpreters who were doing legal interpreting, and I was able to start getting my foot in the door with them. My other love is teaching, and so I had the opportunity to teach in Spanish at a local nonprofit that was providing GED classes in Spanish. And so for a while I was kind of doing half and half. About 10 years ago, I wanted more flexibility in my schedule, and so I chose to go back to the interpreting as a freelancer. And, you know, there are definitely some staff interpreter positions, but there's quite a bit of interpreting and translating here in our state is done as a freelancer. So as, you know, someone working independently. And so I went back to my same legal world clients that I had before, and I started making new connections little by little, and developed, and some of my contacts in the nonprofit world from my teaching that I had been doing in the GED world. So I started to just kind of broaden the types of interpreting that I was doing, and have now branched into translating, that is written work. Some people only do one, interpreting, that is spoken, and some people only do translation. Some people do both. I loved my high school Spanish teachers, and I loved being in the Spanish classroom. One day in one of our classes, a woman from a study abroad program came and presented, and I was super excited by the idea that, like, really, I could go to Spain? And so I had the opportunity that summer to spend 1 month in Spain living with a family in Madrid. And it was absolutely life-changing just to be immersed in a whole Spanish speaking world. But that really solidified my fascination and passion for languages. And, it really helped me see how having another language really literally opens a whole other world for me. And so definitely. And then my high school Spanish teachers, once I came back, really saw how, passionate I was about Spanish, and really encouraged me and supported me. And one of the things that I really, really love, and I really hope that young people will get about translating and interpreting, is there's a huge variety of ways to work in these professions. There are staff interpreters at the courts who, have full-time state jobs with all of the perks that come with that. But that also means they're working a pretty predictable full-time schedule. And if that's what you want, awesome. There's that. There's also staff interpreters and translators for the public schools. And so you can be, a public school employee who works full-time and does translating and interpreting in the schools. Same thing in the medical field at hospitals. But there are also lots and lots of opportunities as a freelancer in the medical field, in education, in social services, in the legal field, there are folks who work translating literature all day long. There are people who are interpreting for conferences all around the world. With the technology we have now, you can live in Albuquerque and interpret for conferences on any number of topics in almost any location in the world. So there's just a vast array of opportunities, and anyone who has a passion for languages, or who comes from a household where they've just grown up speaking more than one language, they've got the basic foundation. And so you can take that and develop it and really find, what niche and what sector and what type of work it really fits what you want. So there's just a wide variety of opportunities just living right here in New Mexico.